Continuing with our discussion about aspects of love, and one of the 63 qualities which you mention in your book, Unconditional Love Is, Appreciating Aspects of Life, is peace. Now, I think most people can readily appreciate why enjoying peace and giving peace, for example, to others, would reflect a state of love. But what I'd like to ask you to do is to perhaps point out any aspect that you think may not be quite so obvious. And what I'll do first of all is to read what you've written. It's only the single page, just 3 paragraphs. But I dare say there's something in this that you'd like to expand a little bit on. So, peace is an inner quiet solitude which knows no bounds. It is like a clear mountain lake reflecting the highest peaks of wisdom. When we quiet the mind and feelings, we begin to experience the peace within that is always available. In this calm state, we can contemplate the possibilities life affords and allow new inspiration for our journey. Peace is not static. It is a dynamic and vibrant energy which permeates the depths of our existence and comforts us. The opportunity to realize our innate perfection resides in this stillness. When we tap into this amazing awareness, we know from whence truth comes and how to expand it. We recognize peace begins within, and that we must consciously cultivate it to experience its gifts. Unconditional love is peace. When we claim the serenity peace provides, we find a vast reservoir of potential ideas, opportunities, and love. So is it this thing about peace begins within that you particularly would want to emphasize there?
Yes, absolutely. The notion of peace, especially as from a collective, as we've been sharing, is that people understand on some level that they want to have a more peaceful existence. It is not natural for us really to do battle with ourselves and one another. And so what we find is that a lot of people will often jump on, again, this kind of collective bandwagon of peace. And yet, frequently, that peace, shall we just say peace activism, can often be from the standpoint of fighting, say, against battle or fighting against war, wanting to do something in opposition. When rightly understood, peace is a very universal energy. It's a very dynamic energy. It's not a nothingness. Peace is an extraordinary experience when we can actually quiet down our own thoughts and our own feelings to a point where we experience the greater aspect of ourselves. In other words, when we are simply constantly reacting to everything we experience in our outer world, our thoughts and feelings are running rampant in every direction. And of course, there's a lot of passion in the idea of peaceful existence, because they are tapping into that dynamic energy. Yet it's extraordinarily different when we are peaceful ourselves, when we are actually walking peace, when we are comfortable with ourselves, when we are accepting of ourselves, when we're accepting of the experiences around us and acknowledging that we can have great impact by being peaceful. It is very different than when we are out trying to counter something else that's going on. In other words, we can be gathering together in peace and being an example of extraordinary peace. Or we can go out and do what we think under the banner of peace and fight for peace, which is really a contradiction. So whatever we can do to cultivate peace for ourselves, find moments throughout our day, take time for ourselves, to actually quiet down our thinking, quiet down, our emotional reactions to things, and simply, as I often share, great to do a meditation. We can simplify it even more with just taking a deep breath. When we're confronted with something that, say, agitates or irritates us, takes us out of our natural peaceful state, a deep breath is often the quickest way to restore our sense of presence in the moment. And that deep breath allows our mind to quiet down, our physical body will literally relax, our feelings will relax, and in that space we can come up with a multitude of new responses, creative responses that are more peacefully based than, say, if we're in a state of anger, we're agitated, we have thoughts flying randomly and mile a minute, and our feelings and our emotions and our passions are all over the place. Mm-hmm. Chances are we are going to come from a very different place with our next choice. Most frequently an unconscious choice, because we are most frequently in those situations going to rely on something that is defensive in nature, reactive in nature, and something that we've have in our arsenal from the past. What we're looking at here is how to cultivate the dynamic energy of peace, where we are really in a state of grace, a state of knowingness, a state of greater unity with the world around us. If we cultivate that in our own lives, we're going to cultivate that in our immediate relationships, our immediate friendships, our neighbors, and our community. And peace will spread as a natural result because we've started being peaceful ourselves. These times can be extraordinarily challenging, being swept up in the tremendous constant changes that we all are faced with. Well, we can either be swept up by those, or we can make a conscious choice to be more peaceful. And when we do that for ourselves, we automatically, instantly benefit the greater whole, because we've allowed ourselves to be more peaceful. We're adding more peace to the collective.
Mm-hmm. So peace is a channel for love, then?
Would really be in the state of peace, rightly understood again, when we open ourselves up to that dynamic energy. The love, which is the essence of who we are, is also peaceful. Again, the love, being unconditional, has no limits. It places no restrictions, so therefore it's extraordinarily universal, unifying sense of oneness, which an aspect, as we're relating here, one of the aspects we experience through unconditional love is peace. So one of the things that we can do to cultivate more unconditional love is to cultivate more peace. Mm-hmm. It really becomes a circular flow. Peace probably of all the aspects is most closely aligned in our psyche to unconditional love, because mm-hmm. we recognize peace as a collective, on our planet, and all cultures have an appreciation for peace, even when they're striving to so-called, protect us or defend us or something under the guise of peace. There's still a quality of peace that is somewhat part of the driving factor. Mm-hmm. So when we cultivate this peace truly within ourselves, or if we're not at war with ourselves, or if we're not warring with our own thoughts and our own feelings, then peace will be the natural result, and through that peace we will be experiencing more of the love which we already are.
Mm. And that peace would be unconditional too.
To the degree we are cultivating unconditional peace, in other words, to the degree we're not striving to imply our human interpretations of what's peaceful, what's not. In other words, we're going beyond the mental machinations, we're going beyond the mental constructs, which is so often the case, where we take peace and we think we know what peace should look like. We feel peace should be something like this, because few people have really necessarily cultivated peace. Some have taken very active roles in, say, meditation, and they have come to understand the nature of peace. And certain cultures, have a very strong part to themselves, where meditation is a very important part of their daily life, their daily ritual. Mm-hmm. So they have semblance of peace. What we're saying is that we cultivate this peace however we need to, however we can, whatever techniques are beneficial to us, as a way to cultivate more peace in ourselves, as a way to bring more peace, more love, more genuineness into our existence and the overall existence for everyone.
So the place to start is to cultivate peace within oneself.
And certainly breathing is a wonderful place to start. Meditation is a wonderful place to start. Again, for people that have not necessarily considered these bigger pictures, then the very practical steps can lead. I know for myself, I did not start out, taking the idea of meditation as a strong tool and technique, especially being more Western minded. That wasn't necessarily something that naturally came to my awareness as a great tool. It wasn't culturally intrinsic to my nature. It wasn't taught, and it wasn't something that I thought I could really accomplish, because when I thought of meditation, I thought of it in terms of something that you had to have very specific, definable, quantitative results. You had to do it a certain way, because I was more trained to do things based on ritual routine. What I found is when I finally kind of gave up the position that it didn't matter what I experienced, just simply taking a few moments out for myself without judging what it should look like, began kind of a process where I realized, it's okay, it didn't matter what it looked like. And over time, by just giving myself moments out, and that could be as simple as taking time to stop and look at a sunset. That's its own version of a meditation. Stopping to notice a flower, giving a hug to a person can be its own version of a meditation. Over the years, I've learned to cultivate peace as a walking form of my existence, because I've found that peace exists everywhere. And the more I've allowed myself the little moments, the more those little moments became the overall moments, to where I've learned how to quickly quiet my mind when it goes off in a reactive nature. Those are the benefits of having just taken the first step and just taken time out for myself. And then, we will all follow that inner guidance as to what constitutes what we need to do for ourselves to create greater peace. And if we make time for it, we will find time for it. If we don't believe we have the time, then that's just the mind running amok. That's just another way for us to avoid and stay in the old routines. We have to actually cultivate it. We actually have to, it's like cultivating a garden. You have to prune it and take care of it and do the things and pull the weeds, just as we do with our own thoughts and our own feelings and our own way of living. Peace is something that we can absolutely cultivate and then experience the beautiful garden as part of the expression as we do that.
So best to cultivate peace outside of our immediate everyday life concerns. Not trying to make peace with something that's going on in our life, but to cultivate peace in its own right, using in ways that you've just described, such as in nature, finding peaceful moments, and in that way cultivating peace within oneself.
And kind of the comical cliche, we do peace to be peace. So initially we have to kind of do opportunities to create opportunities of peace. In other words, we're so conditioned to do things and do that we have a tendency to not give ourselves the opportunity to just simply be. So some of those very initial steps may very much require us to consciously take time out, in nature, in our own home, wherever we can find or choose to create a space of quietness. Because what we're really choosing to create is a stillness from the daily thoughts and feelings, the constant things that are going on. It may require turning off the TV, hanging up the phone, little natures that have huge results as a result, as we choose to cultivate more and more, because we will find that this peace is also innate within us. It is a dynamic energy. It's extraordinarily powerful. Peace as an experience of serenity is extraordinary, because we're free from all of our thinking and feeling of the daily experiences and actually able to expand our consciousness in ways that our daily routine just does not afford. And in fact, we often find, spontaneous, beautiful solutions to problems that we had been contemplating constantly in our thoughts and our feelings day after day, week after week, month after month, and then yet in a moment of peaceful stillness, all of a sudden the most obvious solution can pop into our awareness, simply because we've taken our attention off of the problem and we've allowed the space for a solution to come forth. So peace is an extraordinarily dynamic space, and again, as a circular, peace and love can often be very synonymous. Again, we cultivate the peace so that we can create the stillness to experience more love, and in the love, it's naturally peaceful.
So the more peaceful we are, the more loving we can be. And the way
Yes.
to become more peaceful is to take time out.
Yes.
Okay.
Take time out, find time, make time, and in that time out, once we do take time, then be the peace.
Good. All right. Thank you, Harold.